Hi, and welcome to today's session in Mastering GPT for Developers. Today we're going to be talking about very basic Hello GPT application. So just an application to show you how you start integrating your NextJS app with GPT. So let's get started. So I'm going to start off with like a very basic app here. So let me just go to my app. It's a basic NextJS app. The only thing I've done from the out-of-the-box Next.js is I've added my env.local and I've added Tailwind for just basic front-end stuff. And I'm going to change hello to generate, and let's just test it out to make sure that everything is working as planned. So I'm going to send a post request here, and it says John Doe. So that's perfect. The next thing I want to do is start using that and start actually using OpenAI. So I need to install OpenAI. So I'm going to go here and say in npm install OpenAI. Once I've installed it, I'll just run dev again. And then the next thing I need to do is, I don't really need npm installing OpenAI for this particular scenario, just because I won't use it. I'll just use pure fetch requests. It's good to always install it really. So I'm going to copy here something called create completion, which is my go-to function for creating completions using ChatGPT or GPT-4 or 3.5 Turbo for that matter. So I have here this new function, create completion. It takes in a JSON object, which is which is what ChatGPT or GPT-4 or 3.5 needs. So I'm saying the model is GPT-4. If you don't have access to GPT-4, you can still use 3.5 Turbo. So you'll just use write it 3.5 Turbo like this, and then the message, you usually start off with a role system. This is just to inform the GPT what it is. So this chat GPT, I'm telling it is that given an input text, consider it a question while a user is driving, so answer clearly. It could be anything. So I can change that to say, for example, you are a Twitter user. You are writing a tweet, for instance. And thanks for GitHub Copilot for coming up with the whole thing for me. And then the role user, and then the content is what the prompt the user sent over. Next, I'm going to just do a response and await the fetch for chat completions. Remember, we talked about chat versus non-chat completions. Non-chat like DaVinci, whereas chat is GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT-4. And I'm just going to pass in the method post header. I'm reading my OpenAPI key, and I'm passing in the body that I've just set here. Next, I'm just going to get back the JSON response. Now, in our scenario, we'll have a JSON response that has choices. And then I'm just checking that the choices.length is greater than 0. And then if so, get me the message.content and return that as output text. And that's the create completion function that I personally use in a lot of the scenarios. Again, we can change it a little bit between different implementations, but this is the generic kind of how I initiate my completion. Okay, now that we've done that, the next thing I want to do is just do some null checks. So going back here, before I go into this, I'm just going to make sure that my prompt is not null. So I have created a constant prompt, and I'm checking that if it is null or not. Let me just change these to any, because I don't really need to use the next API for now. This is just a basic implementation, and the error message is please enter a valid prompt. Now, if that's not the case, we want to start doing a try catch, because we have, and it already knows what I need to write. Let me just add the catch error. Again, this is Copilot really helping me write most of the work. Here, it's telling me that this is an await, and hence I need an async function. So let's just make our function async. And there we have it. We have our create completion. Now, we're not done yet, because we've only just said that this output here, but we need to actually add it in a message, right? We need to do something with that message. So what I'm going to do is, again, wait here and wait for Copilot to create my text for me. And let's try it. Again, I didn't really need to write the code myself. I just asked Copilot to write it for me. And I'm sending the same request with hello world. This time it's going to take a little bit longer because it's actually talking to GPT. And here we have it. Output text, hello world, excited to connect, share thoughts and engage, and so on and so forth. Now, this can be anything. So let's change this instead of actually responding back with that. If we were to change this, instead of you're a Twitter user, you're writing a tweet, let's call it, you translate English to Spanish or to Portuguese. Let's put it as Portuguese here. Okay. And then let's send it again. And it already did that. So you'll see here that you can change what the GPT or what your chat engine does just by writing a few words here in the system and passing in the user prompt. So let's go back to my original one, just because I want to use that. So you're a Twitter user, you are writing a tweet. Perfect. So now we know that our backend API is working correctly. What we need to do is create a front end so users can enter that tweet and see it here. So I'm just going to clean up a little bit of what's there. Again, I'm not too focused on the front end because this is not really a front end training. So what I'm going to do here is just add a few things. So let's add a div here, and I'll give it a class name container. And I'm now using Tailwind and MX Auto. And this is just to center my item here, and I'll give it a BG white, just so we see it, and maybe a rounded edges, so rounded MD. Perfect. And then within it, I need to do a couple of things. But before I do that, let's see what here that has to say. Yeah, that looks pretty good, actually. I did want to create a flex call that has item centered and justified center. I would just give it a width full. And then I want the user to be able to enter their information in there, whatever text they want, and to respond back with a tweet, right? So let's do that. So I have here my input. I have here, well, I don't have it yet, but I'm going to add here my input. But to do that, I need to have a set of state fields here. So let me just add my state. So I'm going to basically add some that I always use. Description, which is set description, result, which sets the result, and then the loading, just to set my loading when we start, if I want to do like a progress bar or something like that, which again, probably not the right one to do right now, but it's something that I usually like to do on click of a button, especially because it may take some time for that to respond. So I've added my use state here, and I have my state variables. I also need to add my input itself, my text area. So I'm going to use a text area here just because, again, I think it would look much better if I had a full text area. So I'm going to go back in here and just add my text area. And you'll see here I have a handle description change. This is a function I want to add so that as the user is typing, I'm updating the state of my item. You don't have to do that because you can just read it on the request, but I'd rather with a ref, but I'd rather just do that for now. And I've added my handle, and you'll see here story description, and it's telling me this. You'll easily realize that it's a story, which is probably not the right thing. So let's just say tweet, or what do you want to tweet? Okay, and then I need to add a button so that the user, once they're happy with what they've written, they need to be able to click on a button and get everything fired up. So I'll again add a button here, and you'll see me, I'm just copying the code so that you don't have to watch me write some code here and get it all wrong. So I have a button here. This one had a loading state, so I don't need that for now, just to simplify for us. But I do have a function called generate result that I need to create. So let's go up again to the top and create that function called generate results. So I'll go here, generate result, and I want to prevent defaults first. So let me, and it wrote the whole function for me because it learned my coding style. So it already knows what I want to write here. So it wrote set loading is true, again, because I usually have a loading progress bar thingy. And if data, it sets the result and sets loading to false. I think that's pretty good. It did it quite fast. I didn't need to write too much code, but I'm not sure if it's entirely correct. So let's go through it one by one. So we have here an await fetch. I actually prefer using Axios for this. So let me just go in and change this. So let me first npm install Axios. Again, you can use fetch if you want to. I just prefer using Axios, but let me actually just try this. I'm intrigued to see what GitHub has done for me with Copilot. This is my tweet. Okay, it did not prevent defaults, so we'll see a post back here that just happened. Let me see what's happening there. So, tweet. Okay, there's a bad request here, 400. So I didn't really get too correct. Again, I'm not here to do a development training on how to write Next.js code. So let me just change that. I'll just remove what it wrote for me, and I'll do an Axios post here. So so I can do an Axios post, I need to have my data input. So I'm gonna add my data input here, which is prompt description, and then it's so focused on writing the code for me, but I'm gonna ignore it for now and write my own code. And here you'll see I just did Axios post. Here it's generate, and I gave it the data input here, the prompt description, and waited for the response. When the response arrived, I added it. So let me just include here Axios. I'll import Axios here, and I guess we should be good to go. Yeah, if the response to data, just put in the result and set result. And let's see what happens here. This is not really going to do too much because we don't have anywhere where we're showing our results once generate result is clicked. So why don't we just add something here? So I'll add another div here. I'll give it a class of min with 400 pixels, and I'll give it a BG white and rounded MD because I just like rounded stuff. And I'll go here and add my results information. So let me just add result here. And let's go back here and try it. So tweet about mastering GPT course. Okay. Send the request out. And we see an error here. Let's just check what our error is. Cannot set headers. They're sent after client. It's probably because I did a response twice, but I assume that means that I have my data. So let's just check here. In home, I have my state. It's undefined. So I have a tweet about mastering GPT course and then false, and then it's so let's see what the response was. So the response is correct. However, it's called here output text. And you'll see that I'm using the word result here. So that's again copy and paste mistake here. So let's just change that to output text because that's what we're getting there. And let's try again. So I'm waiting for the response, and here we have it. Just mastered the GPT course and I'm blown away by its potential. So again, it can come up with whatever you want. So this is just a kind of a good example to show you how we were able to communicate with GPT. And the reason why I have this API here is because you don't want to be sharing your Open API key or OpenAI, key on the client side, right? You don't want it to be saved on the user's machine. And this is why I used a function here, and a server function here, so that I can have my code here and read this from an environment variable. Now that I've done all this, I'm happy with it. I want to go live. I want to publish it. So in order to do so, what I'm going to do is just push it, commit it here. And let's give it a name. Lesson 2. Okay, and then I'll publish this branch. I'm going to publish it to a public repo because it's open for everyone to go check it out. I don't mind, and it's all part of the training. So I have now lesson 2 published. What I'm going to do next is just go to Vercel, because this is just the easiest way you could ever do anything. Is Vercel. They're so great. And I'm going to go to my actual account here. So let's go to this, and I'm going to do a new project. And I have, well, lesson 2, I don't have it yet. So let's wait for it to show up here, and then I'll add it. Did I publish it? I think so. No results found. So maybe I need to check my GitHub. Okay, now I'm in Vercel. I can just import respond bot, which is my bot, and deploy it here. And we're going to try it. Like as soon as we publish it here, or it gets published, we can try it live. Now you have to be careful of one thing. Vercel functions do have a limit in how long it can wait without a response, or how long the response takes. And in some cases with ChatGPT, that won't work, or with GPT, it might take longer than what is expected from Vercel. You can use the Pro version so that it becomes faster. That's one option. The second option is that you can do streaming, and this is something we're going to look at in a couple of sessions, is how to make this a stream function. And let me just explain what stream function means while this kind of congratulates us. Stream functions would ultimately change how the response happens. So so if I were to say here, excited about mastering GPT, and click on generate, right now it just hangs, right? It can show a loader, but what if I wanted it to write just like ChatGPT does, where it writes each piece on its own? This is something we can do through OpenAI Stream. We're going to look at how to do that in a future video. I just wanted to keep it simple for this video. And in the next video, we're going to look at how to utilize this and actually make Siri respond back for that. Thanks for watching.